of Women in the Fore right here on Times TV. Today, actually I should say for the next couple of weeks, we are having a series of our very own talents. Some of the lovely leading ladies that we have here at Times TV. Perhaps you might want to know what their story is. Who are these media personalities? One such media personality is no stranger to our cameras at all. You've seen her behind so many programs. She's also now involved in our online media. And that is, of course, none other than my dream presenter, Sharon Chirwa. Sharon, it seems so weird having you sitting on this side.
Actually, it feels very weird to be on this side.
Yeah, you probably feel very strange being on that side. But no, I'm so chuffed to have you on Women in the Fore, because this program is about inspiring ladies and empowering women. And as you know, that I have ladies from all walks of life. But I don't think I've ever actually had a media personality, a TV personality, and indeed radio. Of course, we've had the lovely Jean Charungama, but I don't think anyone has seen one of our TV presenters. So I want you to tell us your story, because that's the point. People should get to know the story behind the face. So we always start at the beginning with your childhood. Tell me about your childhood.
Well, my childhood was very interesting. I was one of those children that was really passed around in a lot of houses. So I grew up with my grandparents, and I moved to my aunts, then I moved to my other grandparents, then to my other grandparents. I really was just one of those children that was really up and about all over, but most of that was in Blantyre. I remember at some point I went to Lilongwe as well. Then back here in Blantyre, the longest place I say I could have really lived at should have been Kanjeza, at my dad's parents' house, the Chirwas. And trust me, I think a lot of things were actually learned there. And then in 2004 was when I went to South Africa, and I think that was the end of sort of my childhood as such. Yes.
Why do you say that?
Because I think I grew up a little bit more. Getting into a new country. Going into a new country. I know that a number of my friends are often telling me that I think you skipped a certain stage of your childhood. And
in other words, they feel like you grew up too fast.
I grew up a little bit too fast, and it happened during that transition. Because believe it or not, yes, we're all in Africa, but the demographics are still very different.
Yeah.
What children are doing at a certain age and here in Malawi and what children are doing in South Africa is not always the same.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But having moved around a lot, I mean, you've obviously said that you had a very diverse upbringing, different relatives looked after you. What do you think you took away from that? What did you learn from that, having that kind of a family setup where it was different people, obviously different personalities? I imagine you must have picked up something from everybody in some way.
Yes, I picked up quite a number of things from everybody. I realized family is very important. I remember my aunt, she's technically my mother, Priska Siabu. Priska Siabu Chira, that is. She taught me so much. She taught me everything that I am today, actually. If I consider the woman that I am today, I look at Priska, Aunt Priska, Mom Priska. I think she's just so free with me. She's taught me so much. She's taught me how to carry myself. She's taught me how to be an adult, a responsible adult. And she's taught me, most importantly, to follow my dreams. Because if there's anybody that was so supportive about what I wanted to do, especially regards media, she was at the forefront of that.
Right. And obviously, I mean, you come across as obviously a very self-assured, very confident young woman. And that is something that I'm sure you'll agree is not always the case when we think of ladies, young ladies in Malawi. I think generally because of our upbringing and the dynamics of our family setups, young women tend to be a little bit shy because we're taught to not speak out and be outspoken. Whereas you're obviously not like that. Where does that come from? Do you think that's something that you perhaps derive from maybe your mom, or was it just everybody, or anybody in particular who encouraged you to really be very outspoken?
Very interesting question there, because just a few days ago I was talking to my aunt, and she was reminding me about how there was no such thing as a secret from the parents where I was around. And it's obviously I really can't remember most of it, but they reminded me about how everything that happened in the house, I'd literally always go, Granny, Auntie Alice had such and such in the house, and this.
So you were a bit of a tattletale.
I told on everybody and everything. If you did not give me the piece of chicken I wanted from the pot, my grandmother would know. If you did something that I know my grandmother said you shouldn't do, she would find out. Literally, she would come home and literally just say, come here, my daughter, come tell me what everybody did today. And I'll just lay it out. So I think the confidence thing has always been there. I think the big thing, though, that I've learned over the years is to just articulate myself in such a good way. And I really appreciate all of that. So the confidence comes in, yes, from, I think mostly from both my dad and mom, because my mom has done plays, I think, for most of my life. She's an actress.
That's interesting. What was it like growing up as the daughter of an actress? That must have been interesting.
Well, it was quite interesting because my first time in the media, I did an advert for Gesha.
Wow, okay.
Yes, I remember doing an advert for Gesha, and I was very, very young. And my mom was like, no, Sharon, I want the little child to come and do this advert. And when I did it, I was so excited. I told all my friends, guys, I'm going to be on the radio and this. So it was really cool because I really looked up to my mom's work, and I really felt I could do something like that. And to actually be doing it is really amazing.
So would you say that in a lot of ways, perhaps it was almost predestined for you to end up in the media, or at least in arts in some way, because I mean your mom was an actress.
Yes.
Now tell me, your mom and dad obviously separated a long time ago, so you've been raised by your mom primarily, right?
Well, not
in addition to your aunts and
Yes.
and etc. etc.
Yes.
But for the most part, it's been your mom. You spend time a lot with your mom, and you've got a sister.
Yes, I do have a sister. And actually, with my mom, it's actually been these past 7 years, mostly.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, how significant has that been, growing up in a household with a single mom? What do you think the benefit of that has been, but also what has it taught you as a young woman?
My mom is a very hardworking woman. She's a very, very strong woman. So as I said before in the very beginning, I really was passed around quite a lot. Actually, if I was to look at the years that I can say I really, really stayed with my mom, should have been the very first few years before her mother passed away. Because then I think even because of the house, everybody would be like, Sue, I never took her as my mom until her mom passed away. Because everybody else was calling my grandmother mom, and I grew up calling my grandmother mom, right? So then after that, it was a matter of being passed around. And then in 2011, I came back to Malawi, settled with my mom, and it's been amazing because I realized my mom is very strong. If I look back at all those years whereby she was able to let me go to other houses to stay there, raise my little sister into the strong. Actually, my sister is stronger than I am. My mom has done a lot, and I appreciate her to bits because she's just really mapped out a life for us that I never thought was possible.
And how important do you think that is for young women or women just generally to have that kind of a role model, a figure like a mom or a female mother figure to be able to sort of guide them through life? It's really critical, isn't it?
It is quite critical because as much as we say, yes, fathers are important and male figures are important, there's certain things that you're still going to inherit from your mom.
Particularly as a girl child, right?
As a girl child, yes. You're going to learn how to be more responsible with yourself, with your body, with your finances. And oftentimes that
Do you think fathers can't teach you about finances?
They can, but I just don't I don't think it's on the same level. So I feel our fathers are more almost like on the corporate side of things, which is, and I'm not saying our ladies are not on the corporate side of things, but if we're to look at it on a business segment of things, the father will often look at make money.
So more administrative.
Yes. The mom is more of let's make sure we maintain this money to make it last until and how we use it properly. So yes, they go hand in hand, but the mom is more detailed about how that money is used.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So more meticulous and more I get what you're saying. More detailed. Right. Okay. Now tell me about school, because obviously you must have you said primary school you must have done here,
yes,
and then you went to South Africa where presumably you went to secondary school. What was your academic life like? Did you always see yourself winding up becoming a broadcaster or being a media personality? What were your interests as a youngster?
My interest as a youngster, I really did dabble in quite a number of things. So I did until standard 6 here. When I went to South Africa, I went to grade 7 because it now changes to grades that side. And then actually, it was a very sad thing because within the week, they were like, no, you're too young to actually be in this grade. They wanted to send me back to grade 5. And because I cried that day, they said, okay, fine, just send you back to grade 6.
So from grade 7, they wanted you to go back to grade 5.
Wow. Because of my age. I was 11 in a class whereby everybody was 13.
Right. Okay.
Yes. So it was a little bit quite different and all of that for me. So I cried so much, and the principal was kind enough to let me just go back to grade 6. Around then, my big dream was to really become an air hostess because I wanted to be so pretty, and considering the fact that I'd just been on my first flight, I really, really wanted to be an air hostess and carry myself so meticulously, so pretty.
And in those days, I mean, even prior to your time, air hostesses were considered, those roles were considered so cool for a lot of young women. It was something that a lot of us aspired to do. But I mean, I'm looking at you, and when I look at myself, yeah, you and I were never going to have a chance, really, were we?
Me.
You didn't stand a chance.
I did not stand a chance. I was about to get to that, say that, you know what, everybody said you can't do it because of your height.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to become a model because of Naomi Campbell. I was like, she's so pretty. I loved her accent. I love everything about her. And then again, I realized, well, my height.
Yeah.
You know, my
that
height,
wasn't going to help.
It wasn't going to help until I think I really started being more particular about what I wanted.
So is it safe to say you've always wanted to do glamorous kind of work?
Not necessarily. I've just always wanted to be, I think, a people person. I always wanted to interact with people. So I found a model. At that time, I felt models are able to go out into the field, meet up with people and wear different kind of things and all of that. So I really just always wanted to be a people person. I've always wanted to do that.
In hindsight, when you look back at your initial career choices, would you still pick those careers today?
Yes. The only other career I'd have picked today is law. Because that was actually, those were my two initial choices when I actually went into college, which was a very big issue with my parents because they did not like either of them. That was being a journalist or being a lawyer. They did not like it. As a matter of fact,
wow, that's interesting.
You have
most parents would have been extremely happy that their daughter wanted to do law.
No.
So what was the reasoning?
My dad in particular said, I do not want a lawyer for your daughter. Rather do business or do IT, because my dad is in IT.
Yeah.
My mom, on the other hand, she was more into the accounting thing. And because I think...
Why?
She also wanted a white collar job as well.
Okay.
I think we've...
But lawyers are white collar occupations or...
My dad was against it.
Career people.
Wow. My dad was so against it. You have no idea.
So how did that make you feel at that point when you realized that what you actually wanted to do, you couldn't do?
Yeah, well, I had accepted it.
Okay, you made peace.
I'd made peace with it because I applied for journalism school, and unfortunately, I applied to Rhodes. I remember that. But then I came here to Malawi and I realized I wanted to stay. So then so
at that point you were just visiting.
It was literally supposed to be a 2-week visit after my matric exams.
Right.
We finished our matric exams and we left like a week later or something. So it came here. It was supposed to be a visit and I'd go back. And I said, I was like, you know what? I want to stay. And then now it was, what are you going to study? So at least in SA, I'd applied in secret.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, right. Okay. They didn't know.
They didn't know because they were like,
back.
Yes, so I'd applied in secret to Rhodes and I remember Varsity College. It's a small private college in Midrand, and I applied for the accounting that they initially wanted. Okay. So I did that and came back here and they're like, so what are you going to study? I was like, no, I want to do journalism. My dad said no. And
wow, so you didn't want a journalist either as a daughter?
Didn't want that. So I applied to Malawi College of Accountancy. I did my Pike certificate. And I was there for 1.5 years when I realized I'm not happy.
Right.
I really genuinely was not happy. I became a very depressed child. I was
miserable.
Yes, I was so miserable.
So when you look at that, and when you look at your situation, how important do you feel it is that to a certain extent parents allow children to perhaps pursue their ambitions? I mean, obviously within reason, with guidance. I mean, at the end of the day, look, we have to be practical. Most parents want you to get a job that's gonna, or rather, do something that will end up paying dividends at the end, right? But at the same time, it's also a good idea to let you express yourself.
Like you say, it's all about the guidance. Parents are there to guide us. And trust me, I'm going to say this straight to the camera. Parents are very correct. I have never been against that. Parents are very, very correct. And when I remember here in the country when I was like, when I actually decided to quit the accountancy because I literally just stopped going to school. I told my dad I'm not going to go anymore. Right? He said, Sharon, at least maybe if you were doing this in South Africa, media in Malawi doesn't pay much. Yeah. And it's a fact, right? It's a fact. If you're going to stay in media in Malawi, you're going to have to make sure that you're going to make ends meet some way or something.
In other ways.
Yes. If you know me, you know that I do a gazillion of things. So just so that at the end of the month, I'm able to live the life that I want to live. You know what I mean? So yes, they were very correct. But I love the guidance that they gave me to say that, Sharon, this is what the picture is out there. Yes, it's important for parents to consider us, what we want, what their children want, but the children also don't just be out there to be a rebellious child. Listen to the reason. They've been where you are, so they know what you've been through.
Well, having said that, I mean, you're still obviously in the media. Would you still agree with your father, who perhaps was discouraging you initially? Would you? I'm sure you love your job. I'm sure you love what you do. Would you still share his sentiments that perhaps you're in the wrong line of work?
Not that, but because I listened to him in sense of I still do a number of businesses. I do a lot of side jobs. He wanted to make sure that I secure a life whereby I'm responsible. I'm able to sustain myself. It's actually very rare that I will be like, can you please share me money? And I think that's the type of life that he wanted. And right now my dad is the proudest.
You've learned to be self-reliant.
Yes.
And
he's actually
not
very proud.
dependent on anybody.
He's actually very proud about where I am. Actually, when I got my first job, he was so ecstatic. He was very ecstatic in the beginning. He's like, I hope you're still going to school though. Then I'm like, yeah, I am. You know, I still, but by school he meant I hope you're still going to accountancy school.
Right.
Apart from your...
At this point, he wasn't aware that you would actually quit.
Yeah, at this point, he wasn't aware that I really didn't want the accounting too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, but it's been good to me. It's been good. So I've learned a lot.
Yeah. Now, look, having done all that, when you look at the way your peers perhaps are their experiences in life, how would you compare your experiences to, let's say, theirs? So, for example, in terms of females being empowered and girls being empowered and being able to make, you're saying being responsible, where do you think we are at the moment when you look at your peers, your age, young ladies at the moment?
I feel that some of us are doing relatively well and some are doing horribly wrong. Because these days, I think it's, as much as it's not a pretty thing, you want... we're still been raised in a society whereby the man is supplies. So your boyfriend, your husband supplies. So these days it's still a very big achievement, and I put that in air quotes because it's an achievement to be married.
Right.
It's an achievement for you to have a man by your side. Because if you don't, people are gonna say, hey, what's wrong with this person? Right? So unfortunately that's where we are. I hope that society is going to see that differently at some point. To say that, yes, marriage is important. It's a beautiful union, but it shouldn't be perceived as the woman's highest achievement. You know what I mean? So right now, yes, our young ladies out there, we're working hard. We're doing various things. We're just still there's still some that still need a little bit. I don't know if it's a shove now, not just a push.
A shove.
It should be a shove, not just a push itself. To say, you're doing just fine. Keep doing it, and you can actually do it.
And you can even do better.
You can even do better. So that's really what I think is very important with our ladies these days.
How conscious were you of your gender when you were younger, as a young girl, as a teenager? Were you aware of gender dynamics and the fact that perhaps there's a distinction between roles of young ladies and young boys, etc., etc.? Was that something you were ever really conscious about? For example, in South Africa?
Actually, I was far from it. I was probably one of the tomboys.
Right, you're a bit of a tomboy.
I was a bit of a tomboy because I can say I vowed to never wear makeup, which I do now. I vowed to never wear skirts, which I do every day now. Like, I used to despise my uniform because it was a skirt. I preferred winter because then I could wear my pants and it wasn't a problem with the school constitution and all of that. I was really more of a tomboy. I hang out with a lot of my male cousins, my male friends and all of that. I was part of the athletics team, which yes, we had a clique of girls, but all of us were tomboys. Now I look at all of us and I think all my friends, well, just the two of us, don't have kids and a family. I can say that.
Did you feel equal to the boys, or did you ever feel that perhaps somehow society created this idea that there was a disparity between women and men and boys and girls?
Well, in South Africa, I'm going to talk about South Africa more than and then here in Malawi. In South Africa, it was very clear that we had more males on the top tens, on the academic things and all of that. I remember I used to...
but was that because, maybe perhaps the girls maybe didn't apply themselves as much as the boys?
I'm not too sure what it was, but there was actually very few. Actually, even if I remember, I was probably only on the top 10 once in my high school years. Once, I remember there was only once. Other than that, there were 3 main girls that I remember throughout all 5 years of high school. They were always on the top 10. They would switch every now and then, but most of it was 3 main girls and the rest were guys.
Right.
It was always.
So why do you think that is? What was it about academics then, where girls simply just weren't excelling as much as the boys?
We had accepted as girls. We had accepted that the boys are superior. We had accepted that they have.
So you think it might have been a mindset thing as well?
It was
psychological.
Definitely a psychological effect. Because honestly, I feel right now when I look back and I say, what you mean I couldn't do this? I couldn't work as hard as this. So it was never about participation, because participation could be quite equal. So like with mathematics Olympiads and all of that, we would all go in together and all of that. But at the end of the day, those that were at the top, classified top, were usually the guys.
Okay.
So I think it was just us, we had accepted that, you know what, okay, I'm the first one of the girls, and that's what it was.
All right, we're gonna have to take a short break, Sharon, but when we come back, we're gonna have to talk about quickly how you got to become the media personality that you are now in your professional capacity, as a very professional young lady. If you're just joining us, you're watching this week's edition of Women in the Fore with me, Wezi Kasambala, and today I'm talking to a very good friend of mine, a fellow colleague, media personality, Sharon Chirwa. But we'll be right back after this break. You're watching another edition of Women in the Fore with me, Wezi Kasambala, and today I've been joined in the studios by the lovely Sharon Chirwa. Yes, I'm sure you've all seen her. She's the face behind a number of programs, including My Dream, Friday Night Live, plus you've probably heard her voice on Times Radio a number of times as well. But she's here telling us her story and how she became or got to become the media personality that I'm sure a lot of you have grown to love. So, Sharon, we don't have much time now for this segment, but what we want to now understand is how you now progressed to get to where you are today. What was your first job when you finished secondary school? What did you do after secondary school?
I didn't do any job that was necessarily a job. I opened up a salon.
Okay.
Because I was really good with hair stuff. So, like I said, my dad always wanted us to make our own money. So I opened up a salon and started doing people's hair. So I was initially, I guess, my first type of gig. Yeah. And then I think that's when I actually started quit accounting. Like I said, quit accounting, started going to Malawi Institute of Journalism for my journalism diploma and certificate. And I remember there was a senior, at that time he was in his diploma level, Sam Peary. He now works for NBC. Sam Peary used to like coming into our class and be like, oh, which few of you, there's some radio programs. Now this is now in 2014. Radio programs, we're going into the elections and they're trying to get some youth empowerment. I started being a part of youth empowerment organizations. And remember the first show he took me to was at Star Radio. I forgot the name of the show, but we had Grivazio as the host.
Right.
And it was talking about intergenerational relationships.
Right.
I was just a panelist on that.
Okay.
And I remember him asking, what exactly is intergenerational relationships?
Yeah.
And I remember I was so scared because my grandmother was listening. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want my grandmother hearing about relationships and what I have to say. So I actually went through that. It was an hour program. It was a lot of fun. And that's when I was like pretty sure.
You realized that's what you wanted to do.
That's when I was very sure this is what I'd always wanted to do. So actually, I think one of the most significant points of my life was when I actually decided I could become a journalist, or when I actually wanted to become a journalist. There was a journalist on SABC, Fore. She used to go into various places, and I remember one report she did. She was in Gaborone, Botswana, and she said, "My name is Fore." I forgot her name. She said, "My name is Fore. Reporting from Gaborone for SABC." And that's when I knew I wanted to do that.
So you just loved the ring to it.
The ring to it. So I always wanted to say, "My name is Sharon Chirwa, reporting for such and such from such and such," and trust me, it's like a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized I wanted to become a journalist.
Okay.
And that's it. I think, and Sam's introduction to that led to us going into another show at Capital FM.
Right.
Where at the time they were looking for hosts. So we went into that one. It was a very political one called Talk Back. I ended up hosting. Went into there and we were there, doing the show. After the show, we had to be ushered out quickly because there was news at the top of the hour. So I got ushered out quickly and I was really excited. And this guy comes up to me, really tall guy, and he goes, "Hi, were you the girl that was talking in there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Are you sure?" It's like, "I'm down here." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." He's like, "You're Sharon." I'm like, "Yes, I'm Sharon." He's like, "Well, I'm Sam Kabambe." And I lost it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Sam.
The Sam Kabambe.
The Sam Kabambe is talking to me. The Sam Kabambe." He's like, "Well, we were listening to you with management and we really like your voice and we want you to actually come and try out for
and work for us."
And that's it.
And
I think
that's how you got your first
that's how-
official job.
Yes, because
Wow.
then after that I went through the trainings. Obviously, we had to go through some trainings and we had to sift out a lot of things. My first time on air alone was traumatic, but that's how I started, literally. And I feel like I was so lucky because Capital FM taught me so much. Sam Kamambe taught me so much. Mr. Osman taught me so much. Mr. Osman was so patient with us. Sam also was so patient. And I think actually technically everybody at Capital FM really, they built the person that I am today. That they've really molded and shaped me into the person I am today.
Okay, so that was obviously radio.
Yes.
I don't know whether that's the point you realized you'd also want to perhaps venture into TV.
Weird enough, I never wanted to do TV.
Why?
Because I was always very fearful about talking in front of people that I can see.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Or people that can see me. So I was still very jumpy about hosting or emceeing events and all of that. So when the TV job actually came up, because I wanted to, my idea was I do radio for a little bit, then go into print where people don't see my face at all, which is pretty cool with me. And then I remember we used to submit actually our stories to the Times, and they would get rejected all the time.
Before you had honed your skills.
Because this was when we were in school, we were all at Midge, and all of us are like, okay, we want to try and get into this and get internships. So we used to send stories, but they used to get rejected. And, we knew that we had to learn.
Yeah.
So when the TV opportunity came up, it was scary. And I remember Sam actually had also come here at that time.
Yeah.
He even conducted my auditions and all of that. It took me 7 takes to actually get
it right.
one little skit of a minute right, because I kept messing up. It was a big thing for me.
How did you deal with those kind of nerves? Because I'm sure people at home are wondering, gosh, how does one actually overcome such nervousness and anxiety when you're about to do something really big, but you're passionate about it, but deep down you're also really nervous?
So I honestly, like I said, the first time, my first radio experience, alone, that is, when I actually started doing it alone, I remember I forgot to switch off the mic. And I remember the technician coming in and said, Sharon, you didn't switch off your mic. And I cried. And I remember literally I played a song and I hid under the table for a good 5 minutes. And I was like, I'm definitely getting fired.
Gosh.
So when I came here for my audition, every time I screwed up, I remembered that moment, and I said, I went through that. It's fine. This is me.
Because it's a learning process,
It's a
isn't
learning
it?
process. So I think one thing I'd always encourage people out there when you're scared about doing something, remember you've been somewhere where you screwed up before, or somewhere where things didn't go too well.
So you've been in a worse place, in a worse
place.
scenario.
Yes, but the fact that you've actually come this far means you can actually get past it. And I got past it, and here I am.
Here you are indeed. Now, what are some of the day-to-day challenges of the work you do? As a media person, obviously you do a little bit of everything.
Yes.
Presenting, hosting, etc., etc. What would you say are some of the challenges?
The biggest challenge out there, because most of my programs, actually all my programs are guest based.
Yeah.
Finding a guest is so difficult.
Yes.
I think you know exactly what I'm
I can
talking
totally
about.
relate.
You can totally relate. That guest that will cancel on you a minute before you're supposed to shoot. I remember there was an incident. There was a week. It's not even too long ago. I even told you about this, whereby I booked a guest and the guest broke her leg on the Sunday. Then I booked somebody else, and on the Monday, so it's a program that was supposed to air on the Tuesday. On the Monday, this person actually lost her brother, another person entirely.
Wow.
And on the Tuesday, I now booked a third person, and this person tells me
They couldn't make it.
They can't make it.
Yeah.
So this is a program that I have to, no matter what has to come out. It was very stressful.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I guess you also find ways of, in our line of work,
Yes.
of again overlooking that and sort of going past that, right? Because we every day in our line of work, there's always something that goes wrong.
There's always something that goes wrong.
So people are going to be wondering, thinking, "Gosh, how do you manage to stay balanced and stay stable when things are always going wrong in the media industry?"
How I stay balanced is I remember that there's a lot of people here that can help. The likes of you. There's been numerous times, guys, that I've gone to ways and be like, yo, my guest, though,
Yeah.
and I can't do this, though.
Oh, I can't do that.
I can't do that. That's why I'm saying this is a people type of career. So if you're not a people person, you probably should not be doing this.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you want to be behind the scenes, perhaps.
Yes. But
Okay.
you need everybody. So this is times as a family, actually. There's times whereby I leave our department, go all the way to marketing and be like, guys, I need help with this.
Yeah.
They'll help you out because that's what it is. We're a family. We've molded into this place whereby we know that if Sharon messes up on the face of times, it's all of times that looks bad.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So it's really good. You need to realize I cope by that. I go to a lot of people, I ask them for advice, and I'm always learning from people. Never be scared of asking.
That's right.
Pronunciation of words. I read news before. I still read some news programs. The moment you see a word you don't recognize, don't try it out.
Don't even try it.
Don't
Ask.
try it out.
Find out how it's pronounced.
Ask
Okay.
and get it clear.
Okay.
Yes.
And obviously, because now, like I said, you've done a little bit of everything. You've done radio, you've done TV, you do emceeing, now you're online. What has been the highlight of your career thus far? Obviously, you've had a very short life so far, let's be
Short
honest.
life.
Not very long, but in that period of time, that relatively short space of time, what have been the highlights of your career as a media personality?
Highlights of my career. Let me see. I think I need to pick out one. I guess the first one should have been meeting Sam Kabambe, and then you have no idea. Sam actually knows how crazy I went. I
Okay,
literally went,
can we move past that?
Okay,
Yes.
fine, guys. Past that, the second one was my dad telling me he's proud of me.
Oh, wow.
When my dad, because my dad is out of the country, so obviously I have to send him clips so he listens online. And when he heard me on the radio, he's like, Sharon, I'm so proud of you. You
Yeah.
seem so happy. Now he's accepted that this is what I want to do, and he embraces that so well. So that was a very big thing for me. Another one was when I remember there was an initiative I did several years ago where we were trying to get young girls that were maybe for various reasons into prostitution or sex work.
Yeah.
And we got them.
We're trying to get them out.
To get them out of the streets. And I remember I met this little girl, her name was Abigail, and she told me that, it's not that I want to, but I have to. And that in turn inspired me so much as well. It hurt me, but inspired me so much to say that in some cases...
do more for yourself.
To do more for myself, right? And not just for myself, but to also do more for some people.
Yeah.
Because Abigail really was so grateful that there are people out there that are trying to get her into something else. She was 13.
Wow, but she was a sex worker.
She was a sex worker at 13. And I remember because of that, I that was one of the biggest highlights for me, to say that I can actually do something to change people's lives with my career.
So are you content where you are today? Where would you want to be in another 5 years' time? And what advice would you want to give young ladies watching this program today? It's about obviously empowering women, young and old, like yourself. What would you say to them?
My biggest inspiration, or rather what I want to do in 5 to 10 years, I'm authoring a book. I've been authoring this book.
Oh, wow. This is interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
I often don't tell people.
Well, let's hope you've mastered your spelling now.
Yes, I have mastered my spelling and everything now. So actually, I'm authoring a book, and I hope that people actually can enjoy it.
What is it? What is it about? Is it an autobiography?
No, actually, it's
Fiction?
It's a fiction story, but I wanted to tell almost something about, something relating to my life, a person whereby you seem to have grown up in so many societies, you know so many cultures, and you don't really know which one is correct.
You still don't know which one you really fit in with.
Yes, whichever one you actually fit in with. I wanted to use that as a way to inspire young women out there, even young men out there, because I feel like, yes, these days we all need that sort of inspiration to say that you actually make it through. And all of that contributes to the person that you are. Maybe you can actually be your own culture, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
so-
You could actually create your own
your own
environment.
culture, in your own environment. That's what it's in 5 to 10 years. But also, I want to be able to I want people to
Okay, very quickly now.
very quickly. I want people to actually associate my name with somebody who's very determined and ambitious with what it is that I am all about, which is all about people. I want to help out people. So that's the big thing out there.
So that's what you would say to young ladies who
Yes.
were watching this, who perhaps look at you and see you as a role model. I'm sure you are a role model for a lot of young ladies.
Yes, I think that's it. And I think I say this quote a lot, and I think it's because I believe in it so much. Albert Einstein said that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live its entire life believing it's stupid. And I love that quote so much because I think all of us with our different qualities really, really need to get appreciated as such.
For what it is we have to offer as
What it is that
individuals.
we have to offer, yes.
Right. Sharon Chirwa, such an awesome time spending this moment with you and sharing your story and me hearing your story. And I'm sure the viewers at home are really going to enjoy this. And I'm sure they've learned something because obviously you're a young woman, you're independent, independent, you're self-reliant, so much to offer, and I'm sure there's so much in store for you in the years to come. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Well, that's where we're going to have to leave this week's edition of Women in the Fore with the lovely Sharon Chirwa, a media personality. Hopefully her story has inspired other ladies out there who might be thinking of pursuing a career in the media. Until next week, from me, Wezi Kasambala, it's bye for now.